and then they start going one into the other, into the house or into the appropriate fenced off area or whatever.
That's
So
funny.
come on, everybody.
Hey, this is Robin with Expat Diaries podcast, and we're here today with Shelley Hill. We're going to talk about all things that brought her to Costa Rica and what her journey was like becoming an expat and coming down here, and her little farm that she has and her big farm that she has and all of the fun things that are Shelley. So I'm going to remind everybody up front, watch all the way to the end. There's always fun stuff that goes on during these interviews and so much learning. I know I learn every time I do a podcast. Smash that subscribe button, share this with anybody that you know that is considering Costa Rica as their next home. And we're just going to dive right in. Shelley, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today.
I love your glasses. Those are super cool.
Thank you. It's one of the only things you can be stylish with down in the jungle. Makeup just doesn't work on a farm or in 100-degree weather or in 100% humidity. So, we do our best in other ways.
I have, it's funny because I normally have like kind of a mohawk and I have some blue hair and I'm between speaking engagements and I was like, I've had the blue in my hair for like 7 years, 8 years maybe. And I was like, man, I've got like this period of time and I knew I was coming down to Costa Rica and I'm like, I'm just going to shave it all off. So I did, I took it all off. Nice. I was like, I'm so happy that I did. And then I'm going to grow it back out again, but I needed to get all that color off there. And it's funny because people are super nice to you when you have a shaved head. They believe something about you that's untrue. And I don't even care. I was like, let them be polite. I don't care.
Oh my.
It's so funny. Anyways. So let's start with, where do you live in Costa Rica right now?
So I live in a village called Ojochal. And it's in the southern Pacific part of Costa Rica.
Nice. I've been there several times. I've stayed there several times. I love that area a lot. Some good little restaurants there. One of my favorite restaurants there is, believe it or not, people who haven't visited or who have visited and have not made it off the roads very much is Citrus. Oh, my Lord. Their creme brulee is to die for. I'm just telling you, like, it's an amazing restaurant there. So when did you move down, and like what was going through your head when you decided, hey, I think I'm going to go somewhere else?
So I moved down here permanently in December 15th, 2018. So it's just been over 5.5 years or just about that. And I bought a house here a few years before that. And what was I thinking? I'll tell you, I grew up in Northwest Indiana and then lived in Chicago till I was 42. And the weather always made me feel really limited in what I could do most of the year. I'm not a huge cold weather person. And I thought, well, let me see where I can go. So I ended up moving to Southern California. I'm not married. I'm on my own, no kids. So it was important for me to have, a job there. So I figured all of that out, moved to Southern California. So the other thing that I really love are animals and doing rescue work. So I sort of thought about all the things that had made me feel real joy and fulfillment in my life. I sat on that for probably a good 1.5 years. And just in the back of my head, at some point, it was oceans, mountains, land, animals, different set of rules, maybe a simpler life, not easier, and I started looking around, and I'd been to Costa Rica 20 years prior. And I thought, the structure felt right when I was here. Nobody hassled me like they did in other countries, being a single woman or a woman traveling on my own. So let me go back. So I started looking at real line, and I got down here and I took a tour over several weeks of the whole country, except for the Caribbean side. I knew I wanted to not be in that area. Right. And man, I'll tell you, when I got down south, everything just opened up for me and it felt like home. It was a real, like, hello, soul. This is where you're supposed to be. Looked at houses for 2 days that were preset and made an offer on this place 30 minutes after I saw it.
I love it. And I love that you have a pool. I know when we talked, I don't know that you told me you had a pool. That's just like such a bonus, right?
Well, this house actually it's a really important part for people who are looking to create a life in Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
Build really different. Not only the materials different, the climate is really dramatically harsh on everything that you have. I bought a house, it was a duplex, and I added everything else to it versus trying to build from scratch. And it was heavy construction, meaning like block and not lightweight, like cement border prefab house. And I knew I could do a lot with it. So I worked more than one job for a few years to save up. And this is what I'd always wanted, an outdoor kitchen, a pool, things like that. But it's real functional for me and the people that I share my life with and the animals. So huge benefit of adding on to an existing place.
I love it. I love it. One of the things that the property that we're going to, that is like so important to me, on the other side of my wall over here, I have white glass walls in my office. And I have a big survey of our land up there. And then I just started pulling pictures, and I make them small. I make them like this big because I have it's a big survey, like almost blueprint size, that's on my wall that I've had laminated. And then I make all of these pictures that I pull from Pinterest or wherever I find them at, of like all of these different outdoor kitchens that I love. And I laminate them all, and then I stick them all on there, all over here, so I can go, which one do I really think I want? So like there's this whole montage on my wall of the things that I want. And I don't even care about the rest of the stuff in the house, but my outdoor kitchen has to have the look and the feel that I want of it. And it has to have a pizza oven. So there's that too.
So, that is one of the things that I would always tell myself. I've got to enjoy the journey. I can't just get there and feel like, okay, years later, the work's done. Now I can just enjoy it. Yeah. I like the up and downness. I mean, who really likes downness, right? But I like the idea that, some days the construction or a project or the animal work or whatever is going to be great. And other days it's going to be a little harder. To me, that's the richness of my life. So I did the same thing with like a vision board. And I spent the years between purchasing the house and moving here. And then afterwards saving and seeing, how the weather works, really doing the exact same. And it was exciting because you always have something to look forward to. Yeah. I think too, often people I see people make their lives smaller and smaller because it can be stressful to have a huge life, especially as we age. For me, I don't necessarily need a huge, but I need challenges always, or I'll wither away. So that's super important.
Yeah, there always has to be something. It was funny because I was, when I woke up this morning, I was laying in bed, and visualizing is like super important to me, right? So I've been struggling for the last like couple months because like we've got the land, and like I'm trying to consider like what goes first, as far as in the development of it. And then I finally this morning, like I knew what the answer was, like not as far as what task needs to be done first, but I just started visualizing because we're on a pretty steep incline, the road in front of us is, and I just started visualizing, okay, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to go for a hike. And I think today I'm going to go uphill. And so like, I just literally in my mind started hiking uphill because I know all of the properties up there, and I'm going to visit Marvin's property, his OG property that he bought first. I'm going to go up a little bit further because I literally just walked through. I'm like, okay, I've just got to start that part of it first, and then the rest of it will flow. Okay, so 5.5 years you've been in country. I didn't ask you this when we spoke, but have you filed for residency yet, or you?
I did.
Okay.
The whole visa run to the Panama border is real tricky because rules in Costa Rica, rules in Panama, rules in this area of the world are probably written out somewhere, but they're always applied a little bit differently. So you never know what you're going to get. You have to stay a night. Maybe they'll want you to try to stay 3 nights. Maybe they'll let you right back in or not in at all. So it made me real anxious to have to do that every 3 months. Of course, now it's every 180 days maximum, but it's expensive and time consuming. So I really wanted to do my residency, and it's been approved for about a year now. And I have my CAHA, which is medical, in place. And I feel like I'm a real participating member of the country. So I love it.
It's funny because I was in a Facebook group, and I think the person who's arguing in there is a Tico, And it doesn't matter what you post in there. He wants to just go in there and yell the gentrification of Costa Rica. You guys are just wanting to come here and gentrify Costa Rica. And I'm like, no, I don't have that intention. I mean, I don't want to come down here and make it America. I would like to come down and create jobs and create, some more income in this country. And I would like to do that. Is like that not welcome? I mean, tell me exactly what's not welcome, And so he kept calling us not expats, we're immigrants.
Yes.
I'm like, call me whatever you want to. I don't care. I mean, I don't care. As long as it starts with a 506, I don't care.
I get that, I get a little bit of that feedback from larger groups, message boards and things, but really in this village, everywhere I go, everybody waves to me. I wave to everybody. No matter where I go, I know someone. I went to the hardware store this morning and the feed store for the rescue I run, or I'm just starting to open up. And I saw 4 people in each place, and it adds on about 50 minutes of conversation, but it's awesome, right? Because I am single and I work so much on the farm with animals, or my executive or corporate jobs that I still have in the US, that it gives me a real connection to other people, and I never feel lonely. It's great.
It's a good, strong community. Yeah.
I haven't really felt a lot of that. There are some folks that come down here and have a really hard time accepting the way things operate. Mm-hmm. There are people burn trash sometimes, and not everybody loves the smell, but it's also a longstanding tradition. It's probably not even legal to Costa Rica standards, but what do people do who have lived here for hundreds of years, or any number of other controversial topics? And what I say to myself is I'm a member of the community, definitely, but my heritage isn't from here, and I want to respect the traditions and thoughts and beliefs of people around me. And they ask my opinion, I'll share it. And if not, then they got to live in a way they're comfortable with.
Right. It's funny. I grew up in California, and I remember, I don't know that I so much remembered it as much as there's photographs. I don't even know why. We had a 55-gallon drum, and when I grew up in Bakersfield, and we burned our trash. There wasn't trash service when I was little. So you either loaded it up and took it to the dump, or you had a 55-gallon drum and you burned it. And that's just literally how life was. And I really feel like a lot of the feelings that I have about Costa Rica always tend to take me back to that time, like in California, whenever I was little too, like everything was just a lot more simple and nobody was in a hurry. I like that too. So you touched on your rescue that you're just starting. Let's talk about it.
Okay. So I've loved animals since I was a kid. I mean, but most people can say that, right? But right. Something in me has always driven me to be helpful. And I didn't have the skills and resources until I was much older. So I'm 52 now. And when I was about 40, my life changed pretty dramatically for a couple of reasons. And I found myself really wanting to spend less time in corporate America and more time developing myself and giving back, really, because of all the help that I'd received over those first 40 years. So I've been doing volunteer work with established rescues for a long time in Southern California. It was a great group called Karma in Southern California, like I said, and they would do medical rescues. So I really learned a lot about how to care for handicapped, ill, and injured animals. When I came here, of course, the need is very great. A lot of folks will say, well, in a country that's more poverty driven, folks don't have the money to care for their animals. They just don't care. What I've found is they just don't have the money to care for their animals, but they care so much. Mm-hmm. So what can we do locally to support that? And it's not to take animals away from people, but to give them a different perspective on the value of all life, right? That's what I would say. And 2, to offer community outreach and assistance. So I've been using my own resources to do this kind of work in the community. And then I volunteer at a rescue called El Refugio, which makes a huge impact in this local region. Mm-hmm. Their mission is much larger. And so what I do is I'll take in one animal at a time and to care for them. Well, a couple months ago, I took in this awesome little white dog. She had one eye. Her name was Cece. raggedy back end, hardly walk, skinny, full of fleas, lots of problems. And I did my normal triage on her. And 3 weeks later, she died.
Oh.
And it just really broke me because she died of a tick-borne disease called Ehrlichia. I think that's the way to say it. And I could have probably had it treated, but I wasn't aware of it until it was too late. And that lack of a formal intake process really dove into my soul. And a good friend of mine I talked to him quite a bit about it. And he said, why don't you start a rescue? How can you do this all on your own? My feed bill per month is $650 alone now. So how can I do the appropriate triage and vet care for animals? So I've been working on the creation of a formal rescue called the Haven, Mama's Costa Rican Rescue, because I'm and we had our first intake recently. Her name was Sarah, and she's Cece's daughter.
Oh.
And so I was able to pick up the daughter of the dog who had died, and she was very ill. She had a 2-centimeter deep wound, mostly around her throat from being tied with twine to a post 24 hours a day.
Oh.
So I was able to take her to the vet and have her treated and get all the appropriate care and monthly medication, special diet, and she's doing really well. So at the same time, I started to create a website, and it's almost done. I'm going to probably release it next week. I have a Facebook page, and we're going to do some other social media stuff. But I'll tell you, we've got 12 dogs now, 11 cats. I've got 3 pigs, and one of my pigs is married to a goose named Lee. And it's a magical journey. It can be really sad, and you can't save them all. But our mission is twofold: one animal at a time, like Sarah, and then we try to find the appropriate home for them. And 2 is castration clinics, which is to partner with other organizations like El Refugio that already have vets and resources in place and plans, and add to their budget so they can do them more frequently and reduce these huge populations. So that's Mama's mission.
So I don't know, like I think in US terms, because that's who I am. Do you have to start a nonprofit down there to be able to take in funds like that too? Okay.
So it's applying for the designation now. It's through the US though, because my accounts are all US based. So I would do that there versus here. Since my income is also in the US, it just makes more sense for me. And so I'm applying for that process now, but we do have a, donation option, and you can designate, I want to contribute to a castration clinic one time. So, or I want to contribute to this particular animal's, rehab and rehabilitation. So it's kind of a cool process. And, if we don't get donations, I'm going to continue to do what I do. I'm just going to do it a little slower, but it's not going to stop me.
I understand. Yeah. I understand. So, I want to talk about your pigs and your geese and your duck, Barbara.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about what led you down a path to go, I think I'm going to have some pigs. I
love smart, different creatures. One of the things that is super exciting and I love to share with people. So I got my local Costa Rican friends who come over. I've got expat or immigrant or, new people in the village come to my house or they learn about me and they say, "Oh, you're Shelleey. You've got the animals. Can I bring my kids by?" Absolutely. We've got 3 kinds of bamboo and all kinds of plants and vegetables and fruits. And I love to take people around and show them things that they've never seen before. So people come and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, wow, how do you know how to care for these animals?" And it's listening and learning how each different animal communicates with you. So like the geese, I never thought I would have geese. All I remember is back in Chicago being on my bike and the geese like chasing me along the river. But these geese are, they look like swans, and somebody gave them to me. They hand raised them. They couldn't care for them anymore. So I took them on and made ponds for them over a year period. And they were sisters and they had a great life. And one of the sisters died.
Oh,
So they kept to themselves. Well, since that happened, what I learned is Lady, the remaining goose, is talks with her mouth. So she wants to come up to you and to me and anybody that's new and pinch you. But so many people are afraid. But that's how she talks. That's how she figures out who you are.
yeah.
And the pigs, oh my gosh, they're just so darn cute. They're little pot-bellied pigs. Well, my little pot-bellied pig is now 350 pounds,
Holy crap.
but he's a baby. So he makes this sound that is sort of like this. And he breathes on you and gets real close and wants you to put your face by him so he can smell your face. And so I took a couple of online free courses or on pig education, and they've got like 35 unique sounds. This particular one is a bonding sound.
Oh, wow.
So when he does that, he's telling me he loves me. So the part of the fun, you say, well, why do I have these animals? What made me think that? I was always drawn to them, and I want to learn about how they speak and communicate and help other people understand that too. And part of doing that is having people know the value of life.
Absolutely. And so where did you get them though?
Oh my gosh. I'm kind of friendly. So I tend to talk to everybody. And I had a really good friend of mine, a local man named David Lopez, say to me, I got a buddy who raises pigs. And if you want pigs, well, I'll introduce you. You go look at his farm and see how it's set up. Because I'm a girl from Chicago, I don't know how to set up a pig barn. So I went over many years ago now, 4.5 years ago now, and I learned about, from Tito, how to set up a good pig corral and what to feed them. And he had this little black pig running around. And I said, oh my goodness, I have to have one. He said, well, great, she's pregnant. And 4 months later, I had my baby pull out.
Oh, and so what do they eat?
So because barnyard animals or pigs here are mostly bred for food, there is not a huge array of quality food for them.
Like nutritionally,
Yeah.
like for a pet.
Right. Mascota is the pet version. And I get teased a lot from people in the village. They'll say, chicharrones. And I'll say, no, mascota, me, my friends, mascota, pet. And they know that. So it's sort of a local joke. But I supplement with whatever vegetables or fruits we're growing at the time. People will bring me things, which is amazing. I've got neighbors all around who will put their vegetable scraps separate and in the freezer. And then they'll message me and say, can I come feed the pigs? And you wouldn't believe 65-year-old men and women want to come and dole out the food to the pigs and watch them. And they just laugh. And you can see in their face just a momentary bit of, there's nothing else around but the cuteness of this cool animal. And then I also supplement with a horse kibble that is pretty good quality from the pet store.
It's funny. There is a pig farmer that lives in the States, pretty close to where we're at. And he hooked up with a local dairy farmer, and he feeds his pigs whey. That's their main source is whey protein from the dairy farmer. So like straight from there to him. Now he raises his as a food source. Obviously that's like apparently I'm not a big pork eater anyway, so like that's not a thing for me. But I was helping him with his social media a few years ago, and he was walking me through that process of his whey protein, that his direct whey that he feeds them. So I have one more question on the pigs, and then we can move on. Oh my God, look at that, sweetie! Oh my Lord, who is this?
His name is literally Jack, but I never call him Jack. I call him Mr. Wids or Bibby because he's itty bitty little witty. Because I'm so tiny. He's a Brussels Griffon mix.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Do you mind if he joins us?
No, not at all. I have a Chihuahua. Her name is Baby, and we never call her that. She's either chicken nugget, sister, cockroach, because she's always under your feet. Yeah, she just answers to anything. She doesn't care.
My catchphrase is, So we've got the 12 dogs, right? And they're a pack, and I've got to be strong enough to control them. So this is what I will do. I'll say, come on, everybody. And then they start going one into the other, into the house or into the appropriate fenced off area or whatever.
That's
So it's, come on, everybody.
So
He's like, where are we going?
So my last pig question is, how long do they normally live?
That is such a great question. So the pig that I have is primarily Yucatan hairless. So they're black pigs, and they can range in size from 70 pounds to several hundred pounds. Their lifespan should be anywhere from like 5 to 13 years. And it really varies based on their nutrition. But they also have, they're really susceptible to heart attacks and strokes. Yeah, my first pig was Ali, and he unfortunately passed away within the first year of his life from what appeared to be a heart attack. So the local men in the village are wonderful. And I had a friend call his buddy, and they brought a backhoe, and he's so Ali is buried on the property, and he's got a beautiful garden over him now.
Nice.
But yeah, and then the regular pigs, the normal, I call them meat. They would be meat pigs. I have one of those. It's also a pet. Her name is Rosita. I call her Rositasaurus. I think their lifespan naturally is going to be a little bit less, because she'll be 800 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a good size pet for sure.
So smart. They play with toys, Robin, like dogs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I've heard that over the years. I've heard that pigs are so intelligent. I don't know that I've ever experienced that. I don't just surround myself. I've never been surrounded by people who have pigs as a pet. So that'll be interesting to come visit you and come visit your pigs. So not just animals, you grow quite a bit of stuff on your little farm.
Yeah, so I've got the property here, and
beautiful behind you. Like everything is landscaped beautifully. That is so lovely back there.
Thank you. And we've got the mountains here, and this is I believe it's a portion of the Talamanca mountain range, which is the bigger mountain range in San Isidro, which is about an hour and a half from here. It's a much larger real city. And Cerro Tripo is there, of course, which is the highest peak in all of Costa Rica. I have not climbed it, but one day I will.
That's up where the cloud forest is, right? They say if you get up there and it's a clear day, you can see both coasts.
Yep. It's supposed to be so cool.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who's done that. So
yeah, I got a friend in town who did there's two peaks next to each other. She did them both in 2 days, and she's super fit. And she said to me, next time I wouldn't have done that. So you ask about it. So I've got this property in Ojochal, and I bought that, like I said, 8 years ago. It's an acre and a half, and there's a house on it. There's a lot of fruit trees and some vegetables. We do a little, herbs, cilantro, parsley. Cilantro's big here. Do you hear that?
Yep.
Those are the red macaws. Scarlet
macaws. I see them. They were flying behind you.
Yeah, they love the ornamental almonds. So we've got almonds, avocado, carambola, which is star fruit, 2 types of mangoes, papaya, red bananas, small bananas, normal bananas, and plantains. And were
they all there, or did you have to plant some of that?
Some of them were here, but we've added a lot. There was 1 avocado tree, but it died, and now I have 9. You wouldn't believe it, but you can put a seed of an avocado, let it root, plant it, and 2 years later you'll have your first crop, maybe 3.
That's crazy. So we rented an Airbnb when we were there last week, because I brought my grandkids in, and we stayed in Platanillo. And my granddaughter, her job every day, she was in charge of we called it the compost bowl. And so everything that you cooked or peeled or whatever went in there. And so then every day she was in charge of taking the compost out to the compost pile.
Yep.
But anything that had seeds in it, she was in charge of replanting. And so she planted mango, she planted papaya. We got to plant a pineapple, what we call the hairy berries. the memon, the leche,
Like,
leche. There's
yeah,
like 3 different names for it. Rambutan. There's like so many names for it. So we just call them hairy berries. They
I have
loved
those.
them
Oh,
so much, like they were eating candy. I swear, they loved them.
the right way to do it is those little red, like you said, hairy berries. You pop it in your mouth, you crunch your front teeth down, pull off it, spit it out, and eat the fruit from inside. That's when you know you're local.
Yeah, so that we replanted everything that we consumed. We pulled seeds out of cantaloupe, everything we pulled out, and then replanted. So I told her, she's like, well, how will we know? I'm like, we'll just have to come back. You have to remember where you planted everything, and we'll come back and check on it.
Absolutely. So, the papaya grow and produce fruit within several weeks, a month and a half. It's amazing. So really, I always wanted to have a green thumb, but never did in Chicago. I mean, I tried so hard to keep like hydrangeas alive and make them pink. But here, I literally just cut something off and jam it to the ground. And next thing you know, it's alive and growing. Of course, be careful because you need to have good machete skills if you plant a lot.
For sure. I even said that, like, my grandson was wanting to cut a coconut, and I'm like, well, we really need a machete for that.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, where do we get one? It was so funny because my husband has been coming down with me for years too. And he was like, oh, you can buy them at the grocery store. And I'm like, are you sure? And he goes, yeah. So then, like, the next time we're at the grocery store, he comes over and goes, see, it's a machete.
It's funny because in the United States, if you're driving down the highway and you see 4 or 5 guys with machetes, you're going to be nervous.
Yeah.
Here, it's just a normal Tuesday morning.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so starting the rescue, you're growing all of the fruits and vegetables on your farm, and then you have just purchased another farm, a bigger one. You got your big girl pants on now.
I do. Big girl panties. So I love Ojochal, and I love living near the coast. It's really very warm and it's growing here. And part of what I want is in my future, I want to be able to have a little more solitude maybe. And I also want to be able to help in regions that have fewer resources. In the mountain communities, that they band together and work as a group to, keep their salon where the football is played just beautiful, and really are have their own festivals and horse parades and all these sorts of events, which is wonderful. But they don't have the resources around animal rescue and care. So I'd love to be able to bring castration clinics and the mission of one at a time into that region. And there's enough property that I can also build a small kennel, so I can do quarantining appropriately and have those resources available, do showers and because you get a lot of skin issues here, mange and other bacterial infections, fungus. So once an animal's immune system's down, really their skin starts to degrade. So it would be really nice to have a little facility like that where barking wouldn't bother anybody and would help, again, those that just don't have those resources or time. So farmers are not, they're engrossed in coffee production up there and sugar cane and such. So it's already a really long day. And I feel like that would be important and also beneficial for me.
I think so too. I forgot. I wanted to circle back to this really quick because I forgot. Well, first let's talk about this. How do you feel? And I don't know that I've ever asked anybody this, but what is the consensus on dog breeders down there? So people, I would say mostly North Americans come down and they want to breed dogs and sell to more expats instead of, adopting the dogs that are already there.
Yeah, it's almost a hostility because of the number of street dogs. And a couple of the posts I've seen lately, like in the past, I'd say even 10 months, where someone's bred a real specific type of dog and they want to sell it for $1,500 or $3,000, really upsets people. We've got, there are many times where I'll buy, not just me, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be a hero. So many of the people I know in this village and in other local villages will buy dogs of bag food. They keep it in their car. And they'll have a couple, sometimes they just drop off big bags of food at a house where we know maybe somebody's struggling a bit.
Right.
There are resources here for families. So you might be thinking, I'm just going to preempt it. Well, who helps families in need? And we have great local resources for helping humans and families and kids in need. So for the animals, it's nice to be able to drop a bag off and just leave. You don't need to.
No explanation needed.
Right. And so a lot of people here do that and or donate directly to like El Refugio. And I've had a couple of donations so far of cages and other resources. It would be great if people would donate bags of dog food or whatever they can do. But everything comes poco a poco, a little by little. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the breeding of dogs is a real challenge. And I hope that it doesn't continue. But I've got another fun thing to tell you, which shocked me. Little dogs are able to live outside here. You just see a 6-pound Chihuahua running down the road and you think, oh no, that delicate little baby, I wouldn't want him to jump off my bed, let alone, risk the streets of a village where we literally have jaguars in this mountain.
Yeah.
And they do great because they're feisty little street dogs. And you can tell if somebody's got a collar that they belong to somebody.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's funny. I'll tell you this, and I know how this will come across. I'm not going to tell you because there's no way for me to say it without it sounding horrible. So,
oh no, I don't mind.
I know, but this is going to be for public. I'm going to get so much backlash. So, no, there's just no way. It's our designation that we had last week when we were in country, and there was 2 dogs that kept running across the property, and one of them had a collar and one of them didn't. And so I just really told him like the one without a collar had been liberated and the other one didn't. It hasn't been. The other one has, like, this one with no collar is making fun of the one with the collar.
Yeah. It's actually funny that you say that. We've got I can't tell you the number of new folks who come here for vacation or extended vacation or to live, but they're new. And it absolutely freaks them out to see these dogs running. So they take them and put them in their house. And they say, what am I going to do with this dog? And they'll try to either keep them or care for them. But they have homes. And so there are a lot of WhatsApp groups and chat groups here where people communicate, neighbors, for assistance or if there's an emergency, or because we got to stick together down here. Life's a little more tough. Yeah. So people say, does anybody know this dog? Yep, let it go. It'll go home. Yeah. So I fenced my property, but I still have one big guy who likes to get over the fence. Come here, Raul. You want to say hi? Come on. Come here. This is him. Raul likes to jump over the fence.
Oh my goodness.
He's my big but giant baby. So a big dog attacked him not too long ago when he jumped over my 4-foot fence. And this is what I heard. Yipe, yipe, yipe. And he hasn't jumped over that I'm aware of since.
Well, that may be the one thing that breaks him from that then.
I hope so.
Yeah, good to go. So I know I didn't ask you this earlier. So I know you've applied for residency. Is it completed? Your residency?
Yeah, complete. Totally completed. Yes, it's so exciting. I've got my Dimex card, which is which is like your national ID. My Caja's set up. My license has been amalgamated. That's not the right word. What is the word when it's translated by an official Spanish interpreter in Costa Rica? There are like 6 of them, so it takes a while, but it's all done. Yeah, it's exciting.
So overall, like your entire experience, like you've had 5.5 years there, from making the decision to come down to buying real estate to getting your residency to now starting a company where you can rescue more animals and becoming part of the village of Ojochal. Good. It's a thumbs up. It's a thumbs down. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I mean, in this Roman Colosseum, the answer is yes, absolutely. But I'm going to tell you, it's not without. I'm a generally happy, upbeat person, especially since, like I said, I turned 40. So much has changed, and how could even on my worst day, look what I get to look at. I mean,
it's gorgeous.
And I get to work on that garden. Hello, fabulous. But power goes out here sometimes 20 times a week.
Yep.
Water can go out. We had a huge storm in October of 23 in the village. It was like a supercell that just hit us, caused a lot of damage. Range were 14 springs that fed all the water for this village. And I think 6, maybe 7 of them were washed away.
Is that the one that took out the bridge that goes to Citrus?
Yes, absolutely. So the other thing that happened during that huge storm last October was there's one main way into and out of the village. There's two back ways, but real hard to get through the mountain passes and terrible roads, real scary. So the main bridge got washed away. And right now, the municipality is being pressured to put a plan in place to create a new bridge. And I'm just going to say I stay out of that discussion because it's going to happen one way or another. And right now we've got cunetas or culverts, big round concrete pipes with soil over it. And we get in and out the best we can. And if there's a day I can't get out, so what? There's stores in the village. I can get a beer at a local bar, or I can sit here and watch the macaws. I'm all okay with that.
Or you can eat some avocados and bananas out of your own trees, some mangoes.
Oh. The rambutan this big tree right next to me is going to be ripe in just like maybe 6 weeks. But in other parts of the country where they're already ripe, so you can buy them. It's pretty exciting, as you know.
We gorged on them last week, so we do know that.
So generally, I would say it's an absolute thumbs up. But there are challenges, and you've got to learn a different culture, not just a different language. People whose belief systems here were dramatically different. So, when you're here, I've learned more patience than I ever had in my whole life. And it's because every day I've got a choice to make that I can fight existing systems, or I can go along and say, okay, how do I maneuver this to live my best life in a place that's way, way more gorgeous and alive than any place I ever lived before. And that's what I choose to do. But it's a choice.
And I think that people who really struggle with Costa Rica is because they're trying so hard to, matter of fact, like, I think everybody that I've ever interviewed, if I say, what is the one thing that was harder than you thought it would be? Yeah. Like you had no idea that it was going to be this hard to do X. And then what's the one thing that's is way easier than you thought? So I'll ask you those questions too. So what's the one thing that's way harder than you ever expected it to be?
Banking.
Everybody says it. There's never a time when someone doesn't say banking.
Man, the first time you come down here and you think, oh, I'll get a bank account. That's challenging enough. And if you have a certain amount in your local bank account, you have to report it on your taxes in the United States because there's this whole reciprocal thing. You don't want, I'm not a tax expert. I'm telling you, it's complex. And I still work for my money. I don't have, hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting somewhere that I can use. So I can't wire chunks of money. I need it as I earn it. Right. So I had to figure a way around to maneuver it, which you don't want to hear all of that right now. But if you ever did,
it's another class.
It's another class. And I've got some real good tips. I've helped a couple people recently and they're like, woo. Plus a lot down here is cash oriented. Right. And so I know folks who say, well, I'll just use my tarjeta, my credit card or debit card. And most people are cash based here. So if you're paying workers or folks, it's probably cash based.
Right. For sure. I love that. And what is something that ended up being a lot easier than you thought it would be?
Easier. Making a life that feels connected every day. I didn't know that people would be so friendly and open with me, and that there would be so many opportunities to do things that are fulfilling, whether you love volleyball, volunteering,
pickleball.
Pickleball. I've got a lady friend who's a mostly retired doctor from the US, Indiana, same as me. And she volunteers at the local school teaching English. And she only knows a little Spanish. So anything that you want to do here, it's not you come in, you sit in like Boca. I'm going to sit on the beach and look around. There's so much still to do with the rest of your life. So that's been a lot easier than I ever thought.
I love that. I love that.
Thanks.
Well, Shelleey, I appreciate the time that you've spent with us. I mean, it's been delightful, and I've loved seeing your background. It looks like one of those fake Zoom backgrounds. That's what it looks like, honest to God. It looks like a fake Zoom background, and I know it's not. I absolutely know it's not. It's just beautiful, and you've done a great job. I love your furniture you've positioned out there. It's
Thanks.
Beautiful too. And the fact that you're so in tune with your village and your villagers and your animals is amazing. And I think that it's a huge success story. And yes, every time someone considers moving, I don't care if you consider moving from Missouri to New Mexico.
Yeah.
The changes and the challenges that you're going to have moving from one location to the next are always that. You have to go, this is a new experience. What am I going to learn today? What am I going to experience today?
Yeah.
And I found the Costa Rican people, the Ticos, to be so friendly and warm. And even if your Spanish is not great, I found them to just keep trying to communicate with you until you guys work out like we all find. Yeah, exactly.
Translators.
Yeah. So I love all of that. And thank you for sharing your story. And for all of you, I'm going to drop Shelly's new link to her website. That'll be live by the time this podcast gets posted. So if you want to contribute and you want to be part of her plan to assist with the animals in the country, you can do that. I'm sure she'll have a way for you to be able to do that and to be able to be part of her journey of healing and rescuing dogs, cats, pigs, geese, all of the above, ducks in Costa Rica. But for now, pura vida. And thank you, Shelly, so much.
Thank you so much, Robin. It was a real pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a great day.